Okay, welcome everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're located, East Coast, West Coast. We've got people attending from all over, so we sure appreciate you carving out some time out of your day today to attend our serverless printing presentation with PaperCut. So we're very excited to be bringing this to you today and feel like obviously that it's going to be beneficial for you in the field, and already the value that you're bringing with PaperCut, this just adds a little bit more. Attending with me today, let's go ahead and get some house cleaning items out of the way. Attending with me today is one of my technical solution specialists, Doc Balgi. Some of you might have had an opportunity to work with Doc. If not, Doc is great and knows our product extremely well, but I've got him today as he hosted our technical webinar a couple of hours ago. I have him here with me, for some technical backup in case I need it. Although this is a sales presentation, so we're going to keep it sales, but there is some technical information in the webinar that we feel like is going to be and will be beneficial. So Doc is joining us today. House cleaning items over to the right on WebEx. There is a place where you can ask questions. You could even chat Doc and I. If you're going to chat anyone direct to ask a question, it would probably be better to chat Doc directly to where he can answer the question, because Doc will answer those questions as they are asked and we go through the webinar. And then, of course, at the end of the webinar, we will begin addressing the questions that you have. So, again, thank you for joining, and also stay tuned as you're going to continue to receive invitations from us for webinars over PaperCut and our other products throughout the upcoming months. So, again, we appreciate you attending today, and let's go ahead and get started. So why are we here today? We're here to talk about serverless printing. But what we really want to emphasize is what you see on this first slide. No print server, no problem, okay? So very important, and a hot topic and a hot word that we're hearing is serverless printing. It's getting out there. And let me pause for just a moment. Mark Hart just joined us as well. Wanted to make sure Mark could hear us. I think he can. Okay, sorry about that. So let's get into the presentation here. So first and foremost, we want to make sure that we understand traditional printing, which I feel like everybody on the call does understand what traditional printing is. But as we know it today, basically all of your computers have a print queue. That print queue is mapped to the server, and the server is sending traffic over to a printer in the customer's environment. Okay, pretty easy, right? Something that we're all familiar with. But the question is, are print servers necessary? I can think over the years that I've been selling PaperCut, there's been many, many customers that we've spoken to that quite frankly don't have a print server. And one of the focuses as we go through this webinar today is going to be small to medium businesses. A lot of the small to medium businesses do not have print servers, and we're going to address a little bit of that as we go throughout the presentation. So, but what are some of the benefits of a print server? So as you look at the benefits, I mean, central driver management, you notice these words, central security policies, default queue options. So I see the word central and I think of centralized, something I think about with PaperCut, how we're able to manage a centralized or centrally manage an entire company, a school, whatever that might be. So centrally managing through PaperCut's web-based dashboard any and all of the printing output that they have. Same thing applies with print servers. Something that we've always recommended and many, many years ago, something that we strongly recommended because the direct printing option wasn't there. It was there, but not to the depth that it is now. But so what are some of the challenges with print servers? Well, the first one, central point of failure. So unless an organization has implemented some type of redundancy or clustering, once the print server fails, printing will not take place. More network overhead. Again, as you might call on your small to medium businesses, you know, maybe they can't afford to have an IT department. Maybe they're already outsourcing IT, so it's extremely expensive anyway and just more hardware to manage. So now we transition into the meat of our conversation today. And this slide here, everybody, is what we're here to talk about. And what we want to do, and I'm going to strategically pull in Mark or Doc as we go through some of these slides because I don't want to miss any of the important points, but the hot word in the market right now, and what we're hearing, is serverless printing. You've probably heard it, and if you haven't, you're going to. But this is the diagram that you might see when we talk about serverless printing. We want to squash the myth that there's really serverless printing is where we're going with this. You cannot have print management without having a server. This is what you see up in the top left-hand corner, the PaperCut application server. There has to be a server. But backing up to what we talked about just a few moments ago, we were talking about traditional printing and the print servers. So is there a need for print servers with PaperCut? Absolutely not. We're able, and we'll talk about it a little bit more as we go through the presentation, but we're able to track, monitor, and implement PaperCut in an environment that just has direct printing, but always know going forward that there is going to be a server. And you can see here at the bottom, you have your computers. Very important to notice, each running a monitoring agent. So as you're talking to your customers about this, and as you're asking questions, and maybe you have your solution specialist with you, and they begin talking network, you can feel confident if they say, you know what, we just print directly to the devices. We don't have a print server. You want to make sure that they understand that there will be an agent or a client running on each computer. And another question you'll want to ask is, do you have a way within your network for us to distribute that agent automatically, just through a group update or a group policy? If they do, great. Know that if they don't, and we have to touch each one of those direct printers, there could be fees and things like that associated, but we're not going to get into all of that. But basically, in a nutshell, what you see is a computer now printing directly to the MFP or printer. Now, I'm going to pause for just a moment just to ensure that I'm not overlooking anything or that my coworkers don't want to elaborate on this a little bit more in depth. Doc or Mark, is there anything that you would like to add to this slide before we move on?
Yeah, Casey, just kind of want to add and embellish a little bit about the fact that, you know, while we're saying you don't need a server and we're kind of saying you do need a server, let's clarify the fact that PaperCut is service-oriented architecture, and as a technical person, I'm going to even remove that word server, and I'm going to call it service instead, just to let you know, because we can run this as a service, and that's how it runs. And it can run on Mac, it can run on Linux, and it runs on Windows as well. So when we look at that, you know, is that really a server? Well, there is central management, of course, and if you want to track. Now, if you're not worried about printing, then, you know, we can just print willy-nilly and, you know, you don't need servers to do anything. But if you want to track, manage, monitor, and report, which is really the big thing about this is getting reports, then we need to have some centralized thing. So is that a server? I will leave that definition up to you to decide whether or not that's a server, but it's a service that's actually accomplishing all of this. So that is serverless printing, if you will, with central management. Hopefully that makes sense. But think of the sales opportunity with that as you discuss this with your clients. Casey, I'm going to throw it back to you.
Thank you, Doc. We appreciate you clarifying that for us. Very, very helpful. Let's move on, and I'm going to allow Doc to jump in here as well here in just a moment. But again, similar to what we addressed a few moments ago with traditional printing, and then we showed the benefits and the challenges that customers could experience with a print server. Well, same rules apply for direct printing. Is it right for you? I think most of what you guys are probably going to run into is that your customer is either doing one or the other. versus maybe you're not necessarily advising them on what to do, and then again, you might be doing that as well with services that you offer. But is it right for you? So just with Doc's technical background, I'm going to allow him to jump in here. And Doc, if you wouldn't mind, let's go through the benefits and challenges, and then I will pick up on the next slide.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Casey. This is really so cool because it opens up a whole new world for you in sales when you're talking to your customer. In the past, I know when I have visited customers and we've talked to them and they're, oh, I don't have a print server, so we'd have to go through that old school discussion with them and standing up a print server and putting the queues and the IT help and all that stuff that goes along with that. And now when your customer says to you, well, I don't have a print server, but I want to track, can you help me? And the answer is a clear-cut yes. Because again, we can put this on any kind of operating system. I can put this on Windows 10. Yeah, there may be some caveats on putting it on 10. There are some limitations. But if it's a small office, Windows 10 might be just the right thing. And is that a server? No. It's not a server class piece of equipment, sorry for technical or techno-babble, if you will, but it is that service that's running that allows us to do everything with PaperCut. So this could be a real benefit as you're talking to the customer and they say, we have direct printing. And what is direct printing too? USB printing, direct IP printing, all of these types of things that's happening on the local computer. Can you track it now? Yes. And hey, you can track it on Mac as well. So this is Windows and Mac compliant. So when you're looking at direct printing, a benefit of this is having distributed print resources because that print queue is on each and everyone's computer, so they're able to talk. You don't have a lot of that network overhead, a big server and everything, and the people that go along with that. So everything's really managed by the user. You can track, you can report on printing. You keep configuration, administration, and reporting simple. Think of this now, when you're talking to your customers, maybe they have like a real estate outfit, or perhaps healthcare can have an example of this too, with doctor offices and this type of thing, where you have a central place and branch locations. When you have that type of scenario, maybe at the office, it's all set up traditionally like we've talked about. But in the branch office, they have this scenario, 3 or 4 people with the multifunctional that you put in their office, and they want to track it. Now you don't have to stand up a server or anything. You just point back to the application service that's running at the central location, and you have tracking, reporting. Everything that you love about PaperCut is available for you now. Think about that. You can minimize hardware too, so you don't have to tell them they have to buy stuff. They don't have to buy new hardware, new server class hardware. Some print management systems, you actually have to buy a brand new server, untouched, and then you install the software. Well, we can install PaperCut on anything. Maybe they've got an existing computer off in the corner. I find that all the time too. Hey, there's a place where we can install this service. So it's not really a server, it's serverless printing, but still central management. And that's the point we're trying to get to you today. So that slightly used computer in the back, we don't have to reformat it or anything. We'll just pop PaperCut on there. So think of this as you look at your customers, you're walking through their environment, you're seeing what they have. Yeah, they have all direct printing and maybe just a few people or that branch location type of environment. Those are the benefits that you get from direct printing. And this has been available since 16.0. So just wanted to let you know it's here. And, of course, 17 is out now. I hope that you've taken a look at 17. The interface has changed. I digress a little bit, but it's a wonderful, wonderful addition to PaperCut. So check out 17. Some challenges, though. Would you not want to have direct printing? Well, security. You've got a lot of computers out there, so you have to worry about all that, the visibility, the control. And realistically, if you're looking at budgets or quotas, direct printing isn't going to work very well. And sometimes that happens in education. So there are some limitations that we're going to have on the direct printing if we want to go that route. So, you know, if we need that or we need some web services, then we need to go back to the old school print server. So, is direct printing right for you? It may be. You have this now in your toolkit when you're talking to your customers. If this is the way that they have things set up, you don't have to tell them to change their environment. You can go ahead and proceed with your talk track, and we're here to help you with that. Hopefully that makes sense. Casey, back to you, buddy.
All right. Hey, thank you, Doc, for chiming in there. So, enter PaperCut, right? So a product that you are all familiar with. You all understand the value in it and what PaperCut is providing for your customers. If you didn't feel that way or see the value in the product, you wouldn't be on this call. But let's look at this here. So again, what are we talking about? Monitoring direct and server printing. Okay, that's the key. And I'm going to address something else here in just a few moments on the last slide that I feel like is very important for you as a sales rep as you are out calling on your customers. But managing user security and print policies, secure printing, reporting, accountability, all of this can still be done with either printing through a print server or the direct printing. I just want to remind you, what are we talking about today? What hooked you in to click on this webinar and listen to it? You saw serverless. And that's really what we want to continue to hammer on, is that at the end of the day, there is a server, okay, whether it's direct printing or printing through a print server. And Doc addressed that earlier as I pulled him into that slide. So how does it work? And I like this slide, and I'm going to tell you why. I've been selling PaperCut for a while now, and I remember a day whenever a customer would ask us, or maybe you on this call would pull us into an opportunity, and it was a small to medium business or a law firm, or, you know, they just, you kind of knew out of the gate the network might be a challenge. But you make that phone call, we get on the WebEx and determine that they have a direct printing model. So there was some feature limitations at the time, but there's not anymore. And that's what's beautiful about this, is now not only the easy deployment and the easy setup, but we can now set things up via groups. So what you see here, and one of the things I want to direct your attention to, because some of you might remember the old days, if you ever sold PaperCut in a direct printing environment, you knew that the reports were not going to be very user-friendly. They were not going to be very clean for your customer. But what PaperCut's done is not only with the direct printing setup, it allows us to set printers up via groups, but it will also show, as you can barely see these green squares on the webinar, that shows your customer how many users are printing to that device, that direct device. Well, in the old days, what would happen is we would show the 5 users and 5 devices on a report. That's no longer the case, and this is one of the main reasons that we were excited about the release a while back that included the direct printing piece, because now we can generate a nice, clean report that shows 5 users and 1 device. And again, all of the other features and benefits that you're looking for are still there. So that's how it works. Very clean, very nice, very easy to set up. But again, why is all of this important? Well, maybe to squash a little bit of the myth about serverless printing, that's important. But I think on the left, when we talk about sales, and as I see a lot of you on this call that I know especially, we've had many conversations, we want to remove print management objections. What are we always preaching to you guys every time one of our reps is in your office, or we're talking to you, or we're training on PaperCut? What do we always say? Please lead with PaperCut. Lead with PaperCut. What value does PaperCut bring? The talk track, the who, what, when, where, why, and how, whatever that might be. Well, with this, with print server or direct printing, it doesn't matter. You're now removing all of those objections. So now as a sales rep, you can do what? You can easily sell the product without having any network headaches. No prerequisites. that's getting a little bit technical. I won't elaborate too much. So operating system levels, Java, and some different things that have to do with the network. There's no concerns there. And, of course, fits into any customer environment. And again, I've said it a few times, I keep going back to that small to medium business. Those tend to be the ones that over the years that I hear, you know what, we're direct printing, we don't have a print server. We can't afford a print server. And what happens then, guys, it's a dead deal. We're done having the conversation because of the challenges that we used to have with direct printing. Those challenges are there no more, as I've stated a few times. Now, that brings us to the end of our presentation. Time for questions. I see quite a few questions that are being asked. So please, if you have any questions, feel free. But I'm going to read the ones out loud just in case you guys cannot see them, because I cannot 100% remember if you can or not. So Russ asked, is Follow Me Print or Find Me Print still available? So the answer is yes, you can have Find Me Printing with serverless printing. Great question. Let's go down.
I've opened up my mic too.
Okay, that'll work. So here's a question from Rusty, excuse me. Any issues with SNMP3 and IPv6? Doc, I'm going to turn that one over to you.
This is more of a technical issue, and on the sales, we won't take a deep dive into that. I'm not aware of any issues with SNMP3 and IPv6, but I won't say that we've had a lot of environments that have been using that, especially internally, and internal networks are tending still to be IPv4 once you get in with private networking like that. But I haven't heard of any problems with it at this present time.
Okay, thank you, Doc. Eugene, okay, Doc did say this, and Mark, I see that you did respond. Eugene asked, did you just say you cannot do quotas? There
can be some issues with quotas when you're doing direct IP printing and USB printers. There could be some issues with quotas. So it's not recommended in a like an educational environment when you're doing a lot of direct printing like that. Certainly needs to be vetted out a little further in testing, but just the way that direct, or especially USB printers, the way that they work may affect the quoting process, the quota process, I should say.
Eugene, I hope that cleared up for you. Go ahead, Doc. Were you about to say something else?
No, I was just actually looking at some more of the questions.
Okay. Ron, hey, Ron, how are you? How would this affect professional client billing? I'm going to go on a limb and say that it will not affect professional client billing. Correct, Doc? That's going to be a little bit different than quotas.
That's correct. That's correct. You can apply. The professional client billing does work. The pop-up does work, and it will charge appropriately.
Yeah, so Ron, feel confident as you're calling on those law firms like you have, and you're quoting the professional client version. You're good there. Kevin, good to see your name on here. Same question. Yes, so we just answered that, Kevin. Alan, can we set up webinars for our potential customers to see the product working? Yes, we can. We can do that. Alan, what you'll want to do is just reach out to your regional solutions manager or the regional specialist for your area, and they'll be glad to host a webinar for you. Also, I want to ensure that you guys, all of you on the call, have the NFR version of PaperCut running in your showroom. Very important. So if you don't, please reach out to us on that as well to ensure that you do, because version 17.0 is out, and we want to make sure that you guys have that available.
So another question came in with regards to a server license still required. We're assuming you're speaking about the local server, the secondary server. So with PaperCut MF in a serverless environment, it does come with unlimited clients. So there's no need for any additional server license to be purchased to enable the serverless printing.
Thank you, Mark. Alan, another good question. I'm going to go ahead and read it. Can we get a demo license to try in our office environment to get more familiar with your product? I just answered that question, and yes, that's the not for resale license. So we can definitely provide that. Please reach out to your rep. And you know what? There's my email address as well, Alan. I can help you with that also and point you in the right direction. Is there anyone in our company that will come to our office to do some in-house demos? So, Alan, definitely reach out to your sales rep and coordinate that, and I can help bridge that gap as well with your reps. Let's see here if there's any more questions.
Unlimited, did you mention that serverless configuration is unlimited users? Yes, you do. I mean, PaperCut is licensed per user, so you do still pay for them, but there isn't a limit to how many of these that you can roll out.
So basically, if you've purchased PaperCut with 100 users, 1,000 users, 5,000 users, whatever, then you can set all of those particular users up in a serverless environment without any additional cost associated to your application.
And that's a great question because other print management do charge for this, and most of them are Windows only. And a reminder, there is a Mac client available as well for PaperCut, which is very cool.
Okay. Another question
Any
from
other
Ron.
question?
Yeah, there is. Mark, Ron has a question. Actually more questions keep coming in, so it's taking me off the question. Have a small K through 12 that is IP printing across VLANs. How can Find Me printing work in this environment?
Again, getting a little bit more technical for what we're doing on the sales presentations here, but essentially what you need to do, and I will not say it's a very easy thing to do with direct IP, but you have to have the same queue and the same name, the exact same name presented across each direct IP for that to work, and that's how Find Me printing does work. Again, a bit of a limitation somewhat. I mean, you can get it set up, but you just have to be very careful on your naming convention, and then it'll work properly.
Okay, another question came in asking about where the data is stored for the centralized reporting, and that kind of goes back to the explanation that Doc was doing. I mean, in theory, if you want centralized reporting in a print serverless environment, you're going to need to be running the PaperCut application service somewhere on that particular network, okay? And so each of the serverless clients running will report the data back up to the centralized PaperCut app server that will then give you all the reporting capabilities across the whole fleet. So back to that original conversation, you know, as Doc mentioned, we're not calling it a server, we're calling it an application service that will be running to gather that particular data for you. And I think it's kind of similar to another question coming in regarding the statistics, and the information would be sent back up to the centralized server.
And that was for you, Christopher, that answer that Mark just. Yes, Dan. Hey, good to see your name, Dan. Are we going to be doing a webinar for PaperCut version 17.0 and the mobile printing module? The answer is yes. Those invites will be sent out. Let's see here. I can tell you the dates. It's going to be Thursday, April 13th and Thursday, April 27th and which will host both the technical and sales-related webinar for PaperCut 17.0. So please be on the lookout for that.
And yes, go ahead and write it on your calendars. The second and the fourth Thursday of every month, you will see these types of webinars from ACDI from both the sales and technical standpoint.
And we're trying to keep that the same so you guys can go ahead and schedule that out. And again, Carlos has a question, how is the integration with Active Directory and others? Carlos, the same as it's always been. PaperCut is designed to work with AD and other directory systems, eDirectory, just depending on what the customer is using. Obviously, more common is going to be AD because with the Windows environment, but no issue there, same as it's always been.
And Carlos also directly to Active Directory, yep.
Yeah, and Carlos always asks, he also asked about authentication is through a print server or directly to Active Directory. So PaperCut authenticates through Active Directory. The product does not store passwords unless we create internal guest users or just internal users. But when we perform the initial sync with Active Directory, we'll pull over the individual's username, and then based on that username, when they log into their computer to print, we are now tracking them. And then, of course, any type of authentication set up at the device level, however they're authenticating, will be in PaperCut as well under their user profile, and that's how we track their information, printing and copying to be specific. Christopher asking another question, did you mention anything about pricing? Will this be included out of the box, or will this be a per-user basis? Christopher, pricing is exactly the same. So we're talking users, how many copy machines that could require the embedded licenses, applicable years of support, and ACDI remote install services. The only thing that could be outside of the box or the normal quotes that you're used to seeing would be if the customer's network did not allow us to automatically push out the required agent that is loaded on each computer. PaperCut comes standard, or the licensing comes standard, where that information is designed to be pushed out automatically. Some networks don't allow that, and if that's the case, then there would be an additional fee for us to touch every one of those computers to install that agent. But pricing does not change, Christopher. Good question. Kevin asked, in a non-AD environment, are we still using the same client app to authenticate to PaperCut?
Well, that could be one way of doing it. If you have an internal user list, it kind of depends on Windows and Mac. A few different issues there, but you can do it that way.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin.
I mean, even, yeah, Windows, you know, the way Windows works is it's going to take a user, and as it's printing, it's going to capture that username. If that user is in PaperCut, you know, you can use it that way. If you need to use the client app to authenticate, that's more or less on the Mac side or Linux side where we generally will do that. Again, kind of more of a technical thing, but so please feel free to reach out to us as you're designing your systems.
All right, great questions. Are there any other questions today before we end our time together? Okay. Any Doc or Mark from the ACDI side, anything else that you guys want to add before we wrap up today?
Yeah, Casey, thank you very much. I'll jump in here real quick, and we do appreciate everyone for jumping on the call today. You know, this has been a feature for PaperCut, but since like Doc mentioned, since 16.0, which was released early last year. So, and the reason we're talking about it today, there's a lot of other companies out there touting serverless printing, and it's really print serverless printing. And so we wanted you to know that you could have not only the power of the PaperCut print management software, but you could also have it in a print serverless space. And so this the features and functions are there for you, built in, along with the Find Me print queues and the centralized reporting and so forth that the other products cannot offer, right? So we really want to be there to assist you. If you have any questions, please reach out to your ACDI territory sales rep. Reach out to Casey, myself, any of the ACDI staff that you have access to, and we'll be glad to answer any questions that you have.
Listen, thank you so much for joining, everybody, and be on the lookout for the invites for the next round of webinars. Thank you.